Hey, this is Sasha, and today I want to share with you 8 quick tips on how you can create a ebook cover or a regular print book cover that sells. So the first tip is to, number 1, use a human element. So the first main tip is really about using human elements, and human elements attracts other people to them. For example, some of the most popular TV shows out these days, or in the past 5 years, have been things like The Bachelor, reality TV shows, or just watching other people doing different things in the real world, like on YouTube. And one of the reasons for that is because humans like to watch other humans. There was a study a while back ago where scientists turned on a TV for monkeys, and what is it that they ended up watching? Well, the majority of monkeys like to watch other monkeys. And the same thing goes with humans. So if you're looking to create an ebook cover or any book cover, any type of material, oftentimes using a human element is much better than just using shapes or using just other elements, because we connect to other human beings. And it's one of the reasons why you might have someone promoting a brand or someone promoting a product or service through that human element, such as celebrity endorsements. It's because the human element is just so powerful. And if you have an ebook cover and it has a human element into it, it may attract people to view that cover in a little bit more detail, or take a little bit of extra time to just evaluate that cover because they're curious what the human element is doing. What are they looking at? Their facial expressions. That's really what it comes down to. The next biggest thing is really also about looking at animals, such as why are cat videos so big? It's because it's our closely related connection is other animals and pets like dogs, cats, and so forth. So using an element that we can connect to, more so human elements or even an animal, is going to give you a powerful edge within your book cover. The second tip is to keep it simple. If you're just getting started in creating your first ebook, you might want to throw a lot of different elements in there, showing people that this is a benefit, then maybe that you get 50% off on the book right now, and then all kinds of elements in there to try and sell the book or get attention. Unfortunately, this can be a big distraction, so keeping it simple is very important to your book cover. When you look at an element and you're seeing something, you want to also quickly identify those things, which we will get into in a little bit here in this video. But when you keep it cluttered, having a cluttered book cover is going to throw the person off. They're not going to understand what it is. The brain needs to process all these elements and components. It's kind of like driving on a very, very busy New York downtown street versus driving in the country road. Whereas on a country road, you can relax and just see what it is. Whereas on a New York street where there's a lot of traffic, you have to pay attention to the traffic, to the elements, to the people walking across the street, to the bikers. There's a lot of elements going on, a lot of things to process. So when it comes to your book cover, make sure you keep it simple so that way people can quickly identify what it is. Having a lot of clutter really just creates more mental processes that have to happen to figure those things out. So rather than making it too complicated, work on keeping your book cover very, very simple and to the point. Tip number 3, don't forget to use contrast, such as black versus white or black and white. Using contrasting elements gives another huge element to your book cover. So for example, black and white is a color element, right? We have opposing or contrasting views. So we have black or we have white. And if you use that within a book cover, those are contrasting elements within colors. But you can also have contrasting elements within shapes. So for example, if you have a tall human and a short human, then again, those are contrasting elements that you can use within your cover, and it may give you another little advantage to your cover because people are looking at it and trying to figure things out or seeing, oh wow, that's different. So those are some things that you may want to look at. Also looking at things like big and small, like a big semi truck or a very, very teeny tiny motorcycle. You know, just putting in contrasting elements like that, even environmental elements like a cityscape versus a farm environment is going to give you that contrasting elements and get people to think about your ebook or take a second look, because it makes them compare the two elements. Tip number 4, make sure to use clean typography. I think having clean typography is one of the more important elements, because typography really relates to the font, the style, the readability. If people cannot read your title as they're skimming through other books and other ebook covers or book covers, it's going to be really difficult for you to sell that book or get them enticed to figure out more about that book. So it's really important that you have very, very clean fonts, readability, and typography in the end. So having those elements to where you can attract people and get them to understand exactly what it is very quickly is very important. If you have a lot of clutter or fonts that are very curvy, very big cursive letters, this might be okay as people look closer into the book as it gets into print and they're really picking it up for another reason. But if you're looking at a book from a little bit further away, if you don't have that clean typography, they may not be able to recognize exactly what it's about from a further distance. So it's important to keep in mind that you want really clean lines, clean fonts, clean typography, and easy to read and figure out exactly what the title is and what the subheading or subtitle is, so that way you can really attract that visitor to either pick up that book or to really look deeper inside your book to understand and figure out what it's more about. Tip number 5, is your book cover easily identifiable? In other words, can customers or people browsing your book quickly identify what it is? You definitely want your book to be easily identifiable. So having a question that you always ask yourself when you're creating an ebook cover, like, what is it? Can you really figure out what the book is about from just looking at it for 1 or 2 seconds? And if you can't, then it's not easily identifiable. I see this problem oftentimes also on websites or blogs, where people create a website or blog and there's a lot of elements to it, or it has a picture of the person or the owner, but you really don't know or understand what the website is for or what benefit you can get from it. So having a book cover that you can quickly identify exactly what it is very important. So if you're creating a cover that just has a sun and a moon, you might not recognize that this book is about the environment, or that this book is about how the world is moving forward into global warming. In that case, you might want to change that cover into something that's more specific to exactly identify what it is very quickly. So it's important that you really look at your book cover and see that which one is very easy to identify. So as you're looking at different variations and saying, okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 different variations, which one can people identify what it is very quickly? And that's ultimately one of the keys, is because if they don't know what it is and what benefits they can get from it, then they won't pick up the book. So make it easy to identify what the book is about. If it's about vampires, then again, you might want to make sure that there's an element that people can relate to or tie to that kind of story or concept. If it's a how-to book, how-to about, tools, woodworking, then you might want to make sure it's identifiable very quickly. If it's about, let's see, how to use a power tool saw or a table saw, then again, you might want to have an element of a table saw and big letters, very clean typography of how to properly use a table saw. Otherwise, if you just create a picture that's just of a shop or a woodworking shop, it may not be as easily identifiable that it's really about table saws. So think about these kinds of things and elements as you get further in creating your ebook cover. Make sure that it's easily identifiable as people are looking at the cover. Tip number 6, are you triggering the benefits within your cover versus are you just simply putting a picture of yourself? Is the focus on yourself or the benefits for the end user? Now in this tip, it somewhat relates to the previous tip as far as things being identifiable, but this tip is related to the benefits that your book has for the end user, especially if you're doing a how-to book. So if you're doing a book that's really specific to teaching people something about how to do something in their day-to-day world, then you want to make sure what benefits they get. Many people, they focus the book around them. such as, putting a big picture of themselves on the cover, which might be great if you're really famous and your face is famous and it's branded. But on the other hand, if you're not that famous, you always want to still portray what are the benefits? What are the benefits that the end user is going to get? So if you make it all about you, there's a big picture about you and it just says learn about money, it really doesn't tell people, do they learn how to plan for retirement? Do they learn how to save more money? Do they learn how to make more money? Because those are all the different elements that could go with it. But if you just have a picture of you and it's all about you, and it's not about the benefits, such as learn how to make more money, even if you have zero money to start, then you're clearly not focusing on the end user. So that's ultimately another key aspect to creating a cover that sells, is focusing on the end user. Think about it when you're going to shop for a product or service. You're not thinking about, okay, well, who is the person that's selling this product to me? In the end, you're looking at this product and you're saying, what can this product do for me? And this is what people do when they shop for a book, for a product, for a service. When you're looking at a book, you're wondering, okay, will this solve my problem? Will this book teach me how to get a better job, how to get a better career? Will this teach me how to program my website better? Will it teach me how to evolve my negotiating or sales skills in the future? And that's what they're thinking about. So if you have a book that's just focused on you, about you and your 20 years of experience, and that you have, working with these and these people, it doesn't really convey the message and the benefits that they're going to get from your book. So focus on the benefits for the end user. And this includes on the front cover, on the back cover if you're doing a print book. Don't just talk about the author, meaning about yourself. It would be more along the lines of about yourself, how you can benefit the end user. I hope that makes a little bit more sense. Tip number 7, execution or speed of implementation. So you have to make sure that you execute and implement the elements that are necessary. Do things quickly, which is speed of implementation. If you're constantly wishy-washy about the book cover, if you have one version, second version, third version, and just unsure of which one to go with, and then you play back and forth, and then you wait a month and you think about it, that doesn't get your ebook cover to completion, or your book for that matter. You need to make sure that you execute, you get things done, and you take it to completion. So you have to go ahead and spread your message. You have to share with the world your book. And if you're going to do that, you need to execute. You need to complete your book and you need to finish that cover. So make sure that you execute and take it to completion. And speed of implementation, getting things done, getting it to the next stage is all about taking care of business. So go ahead. That's the other tip, is make sure you execute and get things done. And tip number 8 is all about getting real feedback. Some people may write to you and say, the ebook cover looks good, versus others may say, hey, I want to read that book. So there's going to be different kinds of feedback that you'll get. So getting feedback from other sources, friends, family members, or more importantly, if you could, potential target audiences or potential prospects. So if you can give away your book earlier, your ebook cover, getting some insights, getting some feedback would be very helpful. Now keep in mind, there's really 2 types of feedback. You might get friendly feedback from other people, or you might actually get feedback that's very useful, that could be helpful. So when you're looking at some friendly feedback, some people, if you say, hey, take a look at my ebook and let me know what you think, or here's my ebook cover, a project I'm working on, what do you think? And if you get feedback like, oh, I like the colors, oh, I like the picture that you have on there, that's some okay feedback, but it's not necessarily the feedback that's ideal. The best feedback that you would want to get is, wow, that is a book I want to read. Wow, where can I get this book? That's the feedback you want when you're looking at, creating an ebook or creating a book cover or something a product that benefits other people. It's the same thing when you're creating a website. So if you're looking to create a website and people create a new design or layout and they say, okay, can you give me some insight on my website? And then you have people saying, oh, I really love the colors. Oh, I like what you did here with the animation or your navigation. But the ideal feedback that you want is, wow, I learned so much from your website. Wow, this is amazing. I want to buy that product or service when I'm ready to, at the next time I need somebody to clean my carpets, or the next time I need a tile roof, or the next time I need someone to take my pictures in photography. That's the type of feedback that you ultimately want. So get real feedback on your covers from other users and people, and slowly read between the lines. Are people even interested in buying that? Is it already selling the book by showing them the book cover? So those things can kind of help. Keep in mind that sometimes people are just nice and talking about design elements, but ultimately that's where you want to go with when it comes to feedback. All right, so thanks for joining me in this video. I hope you really enjoyed some of the tips that I mentioned here about your ebook cover or print book cover. Take them into account and just look at your book and see if you can incorporate any of them or all of them. And each little element is going to help you a little bit more to make sure that you create a book cover that really sells or grabs attention and really speaks to the end user, the prospect in your audience. So take a look at those and see if you can implement them as quickly as possible. Speed of implementation, just like we talked about it. Now, if you'd like to join my newsletter list where I share with you some other private training videos and training videos that are released on a consistent basis, then go ahead, click this button right over here and sign up to my newsletter list. But if you want to continue watching some of the other training videos that I have, then click a thumbnail right over here on this side and you'll continue watching other training videos with me. Thanks again, and in the end, remember, do what you love, contribute to other people, but most importantly, live life abundantly. I'll see you next time.